Chapter 1031. Benjamin and Orissa rode Blackwind across the open meadow, taking in the gorgeous scenery before coming to a halt. "This is so much better than running on the race tracks," Orissa exclaimed as she threw her arms wide open to embrace Mother Nature. The man's eyes darkened as he gazed at the woman's brilliant beauty, feeling waves of desire rush over him. Orissa did not notice the man's subtle change. While she was still in awe of the sight, Benjamin turned her around and pressed his lips hard against hers. The man's charming face was so close to Orissa that her eyes widened, and her heart began to race. He used his tongue to deepen the kiss, skillfully sending rivulets of passion throughout her body. Driven by his lust, he turned her around to intensify the kiss. Orissa's mind went blank. She regained her senses when she felt the phone vibrate. Seeing that the man seemed oblivious to the incoming call, she nudged him and stuttered, "The P-phone." Benjamin furrowed his brows and released Orissa. She panted heavily, her face flushed bright red. He took a deep breath and answered the phone after recomposing himself. "Speak." Ethan, who was on the other end of the line, could tell that Benjamin was obviously annoyed. Hence, he made a mental note to speak cautiously. "Mr. Graham, are you still planning to attend the event tonight?" "What event? Deal with it yourself," replied Benjamin in annoyance, narrowing his eyes. Ethan reminded, "It's the auction you mentioned previously. You said that you'll bring Mrs. Graham along." The man frowned when he recalled the event. "Got it," he answered. Benjamin's face remained sullen after he kept his phone, seemingly displeased that their intimate session was interrupted. "What happened?" Orissa peered at him and whispered. "I didn't hear what he said clearly, but it seems to have something to do with me." Ethan was puzzled when Benjamin abruptly terminated the call. He was not certain if his employer's response meant he was going to the auction or not. Benjamin fixed his gaze on Orissa's flushed cheeks and rosy lips. Desire filled his eyes when he saw how vulnerable and ravishing she looked. Unable to control his thirst, he cupped the back of her head and kissed her again. The tips of Orissa's ears turned red. The man's gaze lingered on her pouty lips as he asked, "There's an auction tonight. Would you like to attend?" Orissa blinked as her throat dried up. "Is it important?" she asked. "No, it's not important. But if you're interested, I can bring you along," Benjamin replied flatly. Orissa sighed. "Let's not attend the event if it's not important. Dad is still in the hospital." The man gazed at her and pinched her nose affectionately. "I brought you out to cheer you up. Why are you worrying again?" Eyeing him, Orissa smiled and replied, "Isn't it normal to worry? It's impossible for me to play to my heart's content when someone in my family is hospitalized." When Benjamin sprang down the horse without notice, Orissa hurriedly grabbed the saddle to steady herself. "Why didn't you inform me before you got down? I almost fell," she chastised. The man chuckled and extended a helping hand. "Come on." Orissa hugged his neck and let him help her dismount. When both her feet came into contact with the grassy ground, she felt relieved. Benjamin led the way as he spoke. "The sunset here is awesome. Let's watch it before leaving." Orissa gazed at the man and asked, "Do you come here often?" "I'll come here to admire the view when I'm not busy," he responded. "The view here is breathtaking. The kids will be overjoyed to come here for a picnic." Orissa clung to his arm and swung it around blissfully, taking in the scenery. Benjamin chuckled. "This is a ranch. It's not a good place to have a picnic." "Why is it not a good place? Didn't you book the whole place today? You can do it again for the children," she challenged. After pondering for a moment, Benjamin replied, "Sure, if they don't mind the horse manure." "Horse manure?" Orissa looked down at the grass but everything seemed clean and proper. "Are you lying to me? I don't see any manure." The man's eyes sparkled as he teased, "It's under your feet." Orissa immediately lowered her head to verify his words. Chapter 1032. There's no horse manure. It's all grass. Exasperated, Orissa shot Benjamin a glare. "Is he trying to scare me? I'm sure there was horse manure where you're standing. Otherwise, why would the grass look greener than it is elsewhere? It seems that the management did a shoddy job of keeping the place clean." Benjamin countered with a solemn expression on his face, not at all appearing as though he was joking. At that, Orissa took a closer look. Surprisingly, the grass beneath her feet was indeed lusher compared to elsewhere. She eyed the man's somber expression, amusement bubbling within her. All horse ranches have horse manure. Besides, it's not like people only come here for brief horse rides. If they rode as long as we did, it's only natural that the horses pooped. Hearing that, Benjamin threw her a sidelong look. Are you not scared? Even as he spoke, he led her away from the spot. Orissa shook her head smilingly. Nope, horses eat grass, just like cows. Hence, their poop is very clean. It's fine as long as it's not fresh excretion. In fact, people use dry horse and cow dung as fuel to cook. A frown marred Benjamin's countenance. Well, I've never seen that before. It sounds rather revolting. His expression tickled Orissa pink. It's just grass, so it doesn't stink. She nudged the man's arm teasingly. Clocking the mirth dancing in her eyes, Benjamin grunted in acknowledgement. Orissa burst out laughing. Shaking his hand off, she raced into the distance. Ah, the air here is so fresh. With her arms spread wide open, she frolicked in the meadow like a child, enjoying herself greatly. Benjamin's thin lips curved into a gentle arc. He followed behind her with a hand in his pocket, his gaze fixated on her. When Orissa was exhausted from running around, she plopped down on the meadow before lying down. The sky was blue and clear without a cloud in sight. She got lost in the stunning view until a pair of long and slender legs entered her line of vision. As her eyes traveled up, she was greeted by the sight of the man's metal belt buckle before her gaze finally alighted on his captivatingly handsome face. Right then, Benjamin was staring down at her. Blinking, Orissa patted the spot beside her. Lie down. It's incredibly comfortable. Benjamin quirked a brow and crouched, pinching her cheek lightly with his long and slender fingers. Aren't you afraid of bugs? At that question, the corners of Orissa's mouth twitched. I'm no ordinary girl, okay. What kind of bugs could there be on a meadow like this? Grasshoppers. They don't scare me. After saying that, she reiterated, I'm not scared. Come on, lie down. It's soft and really comfortable. Closing her eyes, she luxuriated in the vast meadow. At the intoxicated look on her face, Benjamin's gaze darkened a shade. He propped a hand against the grass beside her head before leaning down and kissing her on the forehead. Orissa's eyes promptly popped open. She stared at him blankly, her cheeks flaming. Flashing her a devilish smile, Benjamin folded his legs and sat down beside her. Orissa's gaze remained pinned on him. Her heart started racing as she studied his tall and broad back. Unbidden, a shy smile tugged at her lips. Won't you lie down, Benjamin? The grass is very clean. Benjamin turned and swung his gaze over, the dark look in his eyes and his hoarse voice exceedingly seductive. What did you just call me? Blinking in bewilderment, Orissa replied, Benjamin. At once, Benjamin's eyes narrowed a fraction. With an intense aura emanating from him, he leaned over. Wholly stunned, Orissa lay there motionlessly. Don't tell me he wants to kiss me. The sight of her quivering eyelashes had a trace of glee flitter across Benjamin's eyes. Why are you so nervous? Afraid that I'll take you here. Orissa's cheeks were stained scarlet, rendering her enthralling beyond words. She chuckled sheepishly. Not at all. Oh God, must he say that in such a serious manner? His asceticism is only making him all the more tempting. Twisting sideways, Benjamin lay down beside her with a hand propped below his head. He pinched her cheek with his other hand. If so, why are you blushing? Verily, his rich baritone voice was unbelievably tantalizing. In a flash, a pink hue inexorably colored Orissa's cheek once more. Chapter 1033. Call me darling. Benjamin pinched Orissa's face. Orissa lifted her eyes to him, but she couldn't bring herself to address him so intimately when she met his scorching gaze. She merely smiled sheepishly before turning her head away. Arching a brow, Benjamin pinched her cheek again. Well, his low and magnetic voice carried a sultry drawl that made one's heart skip a beat. Finally, Orissa parted her lips and called him, darling, in a whisper. Benjamin's gaze flickered and darkened significantly. Her soft voice resembling a kitten's cry hit him squarely in the chest, sparking the desire within him. I couldn't hear you. Struck speechless, Orissa gaped at him. Gah, he obviously heard me. Darling, she called out once more. This time, her voice was louder than earlier. Benjamin bore his eyes into her. Again, please. The corners of Arissa's mouth twitched. How childish of him. Darling, darling, darling. She shouted into his ear successively. Then, she asked, you heard me, yes. Taking note of the mischievous look in her eyes, Benjamin answered solemnly, yeah, I heard you. Snorting, Arissa lay back down on the meadow and gazed up at the sky with her head pillowed on her hands. Benjamin stared at her with an unfathomable look in his eyes. Some time passed before he lay down, placing a hand under his head. Wrapping an arm around her, he pulled her over so she could lie on his body. Beaming sweetly, Arissa hugged him around the waist. The two of them lay on the meadow, enjoying the wonder of nature in a rare moment of relaxation. It was almost dusk, so the sun was tilting toward the west. As it shone between the mountains, it made for a scenery that was as pretty as a painting. What a stunning view, Arissa exclaimed in awe. Dipping his eyes, Benjamin looked down at her, his thin lips turning up imperceptibly. It'll be even more beautiful in a while. Arissa glanced at him before she continued admiring the scenery in the distance quietly. Neither of them spoke, yet a sweet atmosphere hung in the air. It wasn't until Arissa's phone rang that the silence was broken. Arissa took her phone out, delight flooding her. It's Gavin. Again, Benjamin lowered his eyes and swept a gaze over her phone. Arissa swiftly answered the call. As soon as it was connected, Gavin switched it to a video call. At the sight of Arissa, he greeted tenderly, Mommy. In the next instant, Tim, Zachary, Oliver, Jasper, and Jesse crowded over. Staring into the camera, they all greeted Arissa. Mommy. Hi, my babies. Arissa replied with a smile, regarding them affectionately. Thereafter, she asked gently, what's the matter? All 6 children giggled. Jasper started, Mommy, we want to know where you went dating with Mr. Graham. Chortling, Arissa lifted her phone and showed them her surroundings. Can you see it? We're here. What place is it? I see mountains and meadows. Yeah, me, too. Where are you right now, Mommy? The children's questioning voices amused Arissa greatly. A horse ranch. She turned the camera to the horse so that they could see it. Wow, you both went horse riding, Mommy. Bingo. Subsequently, Arissa switched the position of the camera and pointed it at Benjamin. Hee hee, I see Mr. Graham. Me, too. Mr. Graham is lying on the grass. At the children's laughter, Arissa couldn't help laughing as well. She glanced back over her shoulder at Benjamin. Sweeping a gaze over her, Benjamin took the phone from her hand and trained his eyes on the children on the screen. Are your grandpa and great-grandaunt resting? Nope. We're playing with great-grandaunt in the garden downstairs while grandpa is asleep. Gavin reported the situation at the hospital to the man. Grandpa is fine, so don't worry. Zachary chimed in. Benjamin bobbed his head before instructing, if you all don't want to stay at the hospital, ask Edwin to send you guys home. We'll only be going back at night. Enjoy your date with Mommy without worrying about us, Oliver urged, nudging his glasses. Chapter 1034. Nodding, Benjamin promised, okay. I'll have fun with your mommy here for a while longer. The sextuplets grinned so widely that their eyes became near slits. Curious, Jesse asked, did you ride a horse with Mommy, Mr. Graham? Yes, we did so earlier. Benjamin's full attention was on her, and his voice turned a touch gentler. Hee hee. A smile split Jess's face. Mommy doesn't know how to ride a horse. You've got to keep an eye on her and make sure that she doesn't fall, Mr. Graham, Zachary interjected, ordering Benjamin to take good care of Arissa. Seconding that, Jasper bobbed his head. Don't let her ride alone, or she might slip off. All right, got it. Benjamin bowed right away. Mr. Graham, Mommy can't ride, so you must protect her. You can ride with her. Not only did Tim jump on the bandwagon, but he even gave Benjamin a suggestion. Chuckling, Benjamin inclined his head a fraction in response. Okay. He cast a look at Arissa beside him. Coincidentally, Arissa did the same. A wealth of warmth suffused her at the children's concern for her. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, let's talk later, said Benjamin. All 6 children shook their heads and replied in unison, nope. Enjoy your date with mommy. Bye. Bye. Benjamin bade them farewell in return before hanging up the phone. Orissa poked her head over to do the same, but the man had already ended the call. She glowered at him. I haven't said goodbye yet. Hugging her tightly, Benjamin caressed her head. The kids were talking to me, not you. Words eluded Orissa, and she pouted. Even so, I can still say goodbye to them. Benjamin chortled softly, his sonorous laughter beguiling. Lifting her head, Orissa gazed up at him. He met her bright eyes which shone like stars and saw his own reflection mirrored deep within. In the next heartbeat, he seized hold of her chin and captured her lips. The man's intense pheromones instantly enveloped Orissa. She gawked at the handsome face that was mere inches before her. Shyness tinted her cheeks pink. Mirth showed in Benjamin's eyes. Close your eyes. Orissa blinked before doing as told, her mind going fuzzy from the man's charm. Cradling the back of her head, Benjamin deepened the kiss. More than 10 minutes passed before he finally let her go. By then, both of them were breathing heavily, and sexual tension hung in the air. Fortunately, no one else was there. Leaning against Benjamin, Orissa reined in her desire. Her cheeks were flaming, and she only caught her breath after panting for some time. Benjamin was in a similar state. His throat was dry, and his Adam's apple bobbed incessantly. His sparked desire remained blazing as her alluring fragrance wafted into his nostrils. If it weren't for the fact that anyone could come by any time, I really want to try doing it outdoors with her. Oblivious to the man's thoughts, Orissa even wiggled about while lying on him. Stay still, Benjamin warned, hugging her tightly. His hoarse voice sounded exceedingly dangerous. Freezing at once, Orissa couldn't resist stealing a peek at the man's lower body. In the next second, she averted her eyes, her face going as red as an overripe tomato. Benjamin never took his eyes off her, so he naturally caught sight of her surreptitious glance. He likewise swept a gaze over that part of him. Say, what should we do now? Huh? Orissa snapped her head up with bemusement etched across her features. A devilish smirk bloomed on Benjamin's face. How are you planning to douse the desire you enkindled? The searing look in his eyes made Orissa understand his meaning. Dodging his gaze, she retorted, I didn't enkindle anything. It's your problem. Oh, the curve of Benjamin's lips deepened, rendering him incredibly seductive. Bringing his lips close to her ear, he whispered a few words. In a trice, Orissa's entire face flushed red. She hastily shoved him away and huddled to the side. In your dreams? Benjamin stared at her slender back. His Adam's apple continued bobbing, sexy and enticing. You're really not helping me. Chapter 1035. Orissa twitched her lips, not in the mood to entertain Benjamin. Snickering softly, Benjamin bent one of his legs and placed both hands behind his head. He studied her casually, sensing the gaze boring into her back. Orissa jerked her head around. When her gaze suddenly met his dark eyes, she hurriedly turned her head away. Benjamin's thin lips curled. You're still so shy though you're already a mother. At the man's taunting voice, Orissa pursed her lips without bothering to respond to him. Benjamin then nudged her arm, but she promptly steered clear of him. Nevertheless, he chuckled wickedly. Come here and lie down. Orissa blushed to the tips of her ears. No way, you want me to go over? Benjamin teased, brushing his long leg against her lightly. Orissa was wholly speechless. Oh my God, when did he become such a rogue? How I wish to snap a picture of you right now and show it to your employees. Quirking a brow, Benjamin fixed his eyes on her huffy expression. How do I look right now? In turn, Orissa glared at him. Like a rogue. His lips twitching, Benjamin questioned in amusement, how am I a rogue? Stop asking the obvious. Orissa huffed. Without warning, Benjamin grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward him. Caught off guard, Orissa tumbled right onto him. In the next moment, he flipped over and pinned her on the meadow. He looked down at her, both hands propped on either side of her. So, how am I a rogue? Orissa's heart started hammering in her chest when she was beneath the man. Verily, she was riveted by his handsome countenance. Ah, he's too good at seducing me. Is it against the law for me to be intimate with my wife? Benjamin's eyes were trained on her. Leaning down, he pressed the tip of his nose against hers. With every exhale, his breath brushed against the fine hairs on her face, tickling her. Orissa tried to dodge, but he deliberately followed suit. "Hurry up and get off me. You're squashing me. Also, my face is itching." She shoved the man, yet she couldn't make him budge. Thus, she merely lifted her hand and rubbed her face. Messing with her, Benjamin breathed in her face. Orissa had no way of avoiding it, so she scowled at him. "I won't show you mercy anymore if you don't get off me." "How are you going to do that?" Benjamin gazed at her exquisite countenance. "Truly, she's beautiful. On top of that, she's my cup of tea." Before Orissa could say anything, the man had already captured her lips. Soon, she immersed herself in the kiss. After all, she actually loved to be kissed by him. The two of them kissed passionately, their desires blazing into an inferno. If it weren't for the ringing of Benjamin's phone, Orissa would have probably been devoured by the man right there and then. Orissa quickly straightened her messy clothes before clapping both hands over her face. Benjamin's eyes darkened frightfully. His phone kept ringing, so he could only answer it. "What's the matter?" It was a call from Kingsley. On the other end of the phone, Kingsley shuddered upon hearing the fury in Benjamin's voice. "Oh God, did I interrupt his fun? Are you with Orissa, Benjamin?" he ventured. Snorting, Benjamin interrupted him impatiently. "Cut the crap." He was so livid that he was resorting to harsh language. Orissa gaped at the angry man in shock, not daring to make a peep. At the sight of her like a frightened rabbit, the desire within Benjamin blazed even hotter. I just want to ask whether you're attending the auction tonight. I heard that there are some priceless items." Benjamin hung up right away, his striking face as black as thunder. "He called me just for that trivial issue." Staring at him, Orissa blinked, her heart still pounding wildly. Benjamin lowered his eyes and swept a gaze over her. Following that, Orissa frantically averted her gaze. "Shall we continue?" The man's voice abruptly drifted into the air. If it weren't for his calm tone, Orissa would have thought that he was serious. Removing her hands from her face, Orissa brazenly asked the unsatisfied man, "Aren't you afraid of being seen?" Chapter 1036. After a few interruptions, Benjamin was actually no longer in the mood to do anything with Orissa. Nonetheless, he pinned a dark gaze on her. "No one dares to come here." Harumphing, Orissa inched away from him. Benjamin threw a look at her before resting his head on his hands, trying to calm himself. A gentle breeze blew around them, very much refreshing. When Orissa relaxed completely, she started nodding off shortly after. Amusement inundated Benjamin upon turning and seeing her eyelids drooping as they opened and closed every other second. Turning sideways, he propped a hand against his head and reached out to pinch her cheek. The instant Orissa opened her eyes and met his smiling gaze, she was stunned for a moment. "Nap for a while if you're sleepy." Benjamin made a call and had the manager deliver a blanket. In no time, the manager arrived with a blanket on a horse. That aside, he even brought pillows. "Here's the blanket, Mr. Graham. Just say the word if you need anything else." He handed everything to Benjamin personally. Meanwhile, Orissa had long since sat up when she saw someone approaching. "Thank you." "Not at all, Mrs. Graham." The manager's eyes were fixated on them. After taking the items and food from the manager, Benjamin waved a hand in dismissal. He then opened the blanket set that included a padded mat. After laying it out, he placed the pillows on it. "Go ahead and sleep." Shifting her gaze to him, Orissa asked smilingly, "Aren't you sleeping?" Benjamin glanced at her before crouching and placing the food aside. Soon, giggling, Orissa left him to it and lay back down. It's even more comfortable now. It wasn't cold, so she didn't bother with the blanket. After Benjamin put everything in order, he lay down beside her. Then, he stretched a long arm out and pulled her into his embrace. With his other hand, he snagged the blanket and draped it over her. "I'm not cold." Orissa turned and looked at him. Right then, she wasn't that sleepy anymore. "Sleep with the blanket on." Benjamin, on the other hand, adjusted the blanket over her before hugging her. Orissa chortled. Fortunately, it's not noon now. Otherwise, He'd smother me to death. Hearing her laughter, Benjamin gazed down at her. What's wrong? Orissa eyed him without answering. She wiggled around for a cozy spot in his arms before closing her eyes to sleep. You should doze for a bit, too. Okay. His thin lips curving upward, Benjamin held her and stroked her hair, his movements gentle. It took a while for Orissa to fall asleep. As her even breathing sounded in his ear, Benjamin looked down and tucked her in. Resting his chin on her shoulder, he likewise nodded off. Half an hour later, he was jolted awake by the ringing of his phone. Noticing that Orissa was still sleeping, he hastily declined the call. He turned sideways, gently placed her down on the mat, and adjusted the blanket on her. Only after doing all that, did he walk some distance away and return the call. It was about a work matter. When he concluded the phone call and glimpsed the stunningly beautiful sunset, he turned and walked back to Orissa, crouching down beside her. Honey, Orissa seemingly had a dream. She dreamed of Benjamin calling her, honey, tenderly and kissing her. She couldn't help laughing aloud. Delight flooded her, and she wanted to immerse herself in the dream. Alas, a sense of suffocation swamped her. She struggled for a bit before suddenly regaining consciousness. Staring into a pair of dark eyes as soon as she opened her eyes, she was momentarily in a daze. Benjamin regarded her intently, his heart melting to see her spacing out while gawking at him. What did you dream of? Why were you smiling so sweetly? He pinched her face lightly. Gradually, Orissa gathered her wits about her. Recalling her dream where the man kissed her, her face flushed bright red. I'm not telling you that. As Benjamin scrutinized her, his eyes were as dark as night, appearing like whirlpools that could draw others in. Once someone fell into it, they would no longer be able to extricate themselves. Her heart skipping a beat, Orissa blinked. Did you dream of me? Benjamin intentionally teased her in a low and deep voice. Orissa gaped at him. How did he know that? Clocking her reaction, Benjamin arched a brow smugly. What did I do in your dream? He sat down and trained his eyes that were dancing with glee on her. Chapter 1037. Meeting Benjamin's intent gaze, Orissa blinked before blushing slightly. Needless to say, she was embarrassed to tell him what she dreamed of him doing. With his eyes fixated on her, Benjamin naturally spotted the shy look she sported. He could more or less surmise what she dreamed about. Well, she was probably half asleep earlier and mistook the scene of me waking her up as a dream. Tapping the tip of her nose affectionately, he jerked his chin at her, motioning for her to sit up. Get up and watch the sunset. It was only with his reminder that Orissa noticed the scenery around her. The instant she turned her head, she was greeted by the sight of orange hues coloring the entire sky. It was beyond beautiful. Wow, this is simply incredible. She bolted upright, her eyes brimming with delight and wonder. Before she knew it, she had already gotten to her feet while gazing at the lovely sunset on the horizon. After admiring the view for a while, she couldn't help taking out her phone and snapping several photos. Benjamin snagged a bottle of water and handed it to her. Glancing at him, Orissa took it and drank a sip. Subsequently, the man fed her some food. She instinctively opened her mouth and ate it. The heavenly taste of the food jolted her back to reality, and she swung her gaze at the pastry in his hand. What is this made of? It's delicious. When Benjamin saw the way she was salivating over the food, a smile curved his lips. I don't know. At that, Orissa studied him closely. As he didn't seem to be lying to her, she snatched it from him and took another bite. Would you like some? Benjamin bent down and motioned for her to feed him. With a giggle, Orissa brought the pastry to his mouth. Benjamin ate the rest of it. While he was at it, the tip of his tongue accidentally swiped over her fingers. A bolt of electricity shot through her fingertips, and they flinched slightly. A hint of scarlet stained her cheeks. Her eyes flickering, she threw him a glare. On the contrary, a devilish smirk played on Benjamin's lips. You seem to love glaring at me, huh? Snorting, Orissa snapped her head away. Gazing out at the scenery in the distance, she huffed, that's because you love doing wicked things all the time. Benjamin quirked a brow. A half-smile showed in his eyes, tinged with a hint of mischief. He deliberately lowered his voice. What wicked things have I done? A burst of warmth brushed past Orissa's ear, making it tingle. Her heart started pounding. You know what? Benjamin's eyes darkened a shade. Her embarrassed expression was so enticing that he couldn't resist leaning down and planting a peck on her cheek. Orissa's eyelashes quivered. Stroking her head, Benjamin pulled her down to the ground and fed her some fruits. Orissa beamed as her eyes roved over the man's handsome countenance. Did you get any sleep? I napped for a bit. In a good mood, Benjamin grinned. Orissa nestled in his arms. As they ate, they admired the breathtaking view. It's really beautiful here. It looks just like a masterpiece by an expert painter. A flock of birds flew past the horizon, creating a stunning visual effect. Yeah, after Benjamin stared into the distance for some time, his gaze again alighted on her enthralling face. Sensing his eyes on her, Orissa turned to him. Why do you keep looking at me? Is that not allowed? Benjamin harumphed domineeringly. The corners of Orissa's mouth twitched, yet she nodded. No, it's allowed, but you don't need to keep staring at me. Look at the lovely view instead. You're my lovely view. Benjamin's voice was exceedingly seductive. Orissa blinked, sensing her cheeks heating up. Taking the bottle of water, she drank a few gulps. Benjamin dipped his head and kissed her, his eyes dancing with mirth. They stayed there for another hour until the sun had set before leaving the horse ranch. Sit tight. Benjamin held Orissa tightly while the latter snuggled in his arms. She bobbed her head. I'm ready. Giddy up. With a single kick on Blackwind's rump from Benjamin, the horse immediately broke into a gallop. Orissa wasn't sure whether it was because she had eaten or for some other reason, but her stomach started cramping slightly. The pain wasn't that bad, so she didn't pay it much mind. The moment Benjamin noticed that her face was a touch pale, his pupils constricted. What's wrong? Where are you hurting? By then, Orissa was clutching her stomach, seemingly in an even worse condition than earlier. Chapter 1038. At once, Benjamin yanked on the reins and brought the horse to a stop. At the sight of Orissa clutching her stomach, her face turning paler, Benjamin could feel his heart clench tightly. Panicking, he had no idea what to do. Does your stomach hurt? He hugged her, his striking face stretched taut. Nodding, Orissa continued clutching her stomach. The cramping pain was similar to the onset of her menstruation, but it was also somewhat different. Benjamin swiftly leapt off the horse and carried her down. He phoned the manager and instructed him to drive over. While waiting, he massaged Orissa's stomach. The car will be here very soon. His brows knitted deeply together. Scooping her up in a bridal carry, he walked ahead. Orissa gritted her teeth and endured the pain, her face drained of all color. She felt as though something was flowing out of her body. Panic swamped her, for she wasn't quite sure what was happening. Soon, the manager arrived with the car. Getting in with the woman in his arms, Benjamin ordered the man to drive out of the ranch. Does it still hurt badly? I'll take you to the hospital right away. Orissa continued weathering the waves of agony. By the time they reached the gates, the pain had eased significantly. Carrying her out of the car, Benjamin prepared to exit the ranch. At that precise moment, however, Orissa asked him to put her down. Put me down first. I need to make a trip to the restroom. With a deep frown marring his countenance, Benjamin scooped her up and strode toward the restroom. Orissa looked up at him. Upon seeing that he was worried sick, she cajoled, calm down. I'm feeling better now. Still, Benjamin's brows remained scrunched together. He carried her into the restroom before placing her down. Be careful. In response, Orissa bobbed her head. I will. Wait for me outside. Then, she hurried into the cubicle. Just call me if you need me, Benjamin asserted before he spun on his heel and went out to wait for her. At the sight of some blood on her panties, Orissa frowned. Am I having my menstruation now? My period seems to have been late for a week this month. When Orissa abruptly remembered that, her heart skipped a beat. She peed before leaving the restroom. Benjamin was waiting for her right outside, and he hastened forward to support her as soon as he saw her coming out. I'll take you to the hospital. As he said that, he bent down, scooped her up, and headed out. Orissa eyed him hesitantly, not quite sure what was wrong with herself. Perhaps it's just that time of the month. However, her pallid expression only made Benjamin's frown deepen. It's better to go to the hospital. In truth, Orissa was also somewhat panicked. It didn't seem like I was on my menstrual cycle when I went to the restroom earlier. Yeah, I suppose it'd be better to go to the hospital to get checked out. To the hospital, quick. Benjamin ordered frantically. Carrying Orissa into the car, he sat her on his lap and poured her a glass of warm water. Here, have some warm water. Orissa took a few sips of it. Benjamin continued massaging her stomach. Are you feeling better yet? It isn't as painful anymore. Orissa grasped his hand in consolation. Hugging her tightly, Benjamin grabbed a blanket and draped it over her. Meanwhile, Orissa leaned back against him. The car sped toward the hospital. Just go to the nearest hospital, Benjamin said to the bodyguard at the wheel. Understood, Mr. Graham. The driver accelerated. At the same time, Orissa's grip on his hand tightened. Calm down, Benjamin. I'm much better now. Benjamin lowered his eyes, anxiety ramping up within him as she still looked as pale as ever. She was perfectly fine a minute ago, but her stomach suddenly cramped horribly. The next moment, could it be food poisoning? When they arrived at the hospital, he sprinted to the emergency room with her in his arms. The examination by the doctor took 10 minutes. Luckily, it isn't too serious. However, you need to be on bed rest. The doctor instructed Orissa. Hearing that, Orissa frowned. What's wrong with me, doctor? What's the matter with her, doctor? Benjamin had been keeping watch by her side, his brows perpetually creased. Staring them in the eye, the doctor explained, she's 2 months pregnant. Right now, she's showing signs of a miscarriage, as evidenced by the light bleeding. As such, it's best that she remains on bed rest and avoid any strenuous exercises. Surprise washed over Orissa. I'm pregnant again. Meanwhile, Benjamin's heartbeat sped up. Chapter 1039. Even after Orissa had been arranged to rest in a VIP ward, she was still in a state of befuddlement. She touched her stomach. A mixture of shock, surprise, and fear brewed within her. I'm pregnant again. I can still have kids. But the doctor said I'm showing signs of a miscarriage. Thus, she was a touch anxious. This is all on me for being so careless. If I'd realized it earlier, I wouldn't have gone horse riding. Glimpsing her stunned and worried expression, Benjamin bent down and caressed her stomach. Does it still hurt? He had committed everything the doctor said earlier to memory. In all honesty, he felt slightly guilty while also pleasantly surprised. It's my fault for suddenly taking her horse riding. If we lose this child, I'll never be able to forgive myself. When Orissa snapped out of her thoughts and met the man's anxious gaze, she shook her head at him. No, it doesn't hurt anymore. Right then, she was on an IV drip. Benjamin scrutinized her. After he had ascertained that she was no longer as pale, a trace of relief slithered through him. He tucked the blankets around her. Then, he stood up and poured her a glass of water. Drink some to warm your body up. Orissa nodded before she lowered her head and drank it. Lifting her head, she directed her gaze to the man, only to see that he was still frowning. Sit down. I'm much better now. After putting the glass away, Benjamin pulled a chair over and sat down. He took her hand and kneaded it gently. If you feel any discomfort, you must tell me, okay? Okay. A sense of security enveloped Orissa. If I'd known, I wouldn't have taken you horse riding. Benjamin sounded very much apologetic, his voice colored with distress. Orissa merely chuckled. I was careless. I didn't even notice that my period had been late for a week. That's not your fault. Stroking the hair on her forehead in anguish, Benjamin continued urging gently, you've got to be good and stay in bed. Just tell me if you need to go anywhere. Seeing how keyed up he was, Orissa inclined her head in acquiescence. I don't dare move around either when the doctor has already advised me to lie down as much as possible. Subsequently, Benjamin patted her on the head. Get some sleep. I'll have Edwin bring some food over. Orissa nodded, following the man with her eyes. Benjamin went to the balcony and gave Edwin a call, ordering the latter to prepare some nutritious food and bring it over. As Orissa stared at the man's stalwart figure, her mind wandered. He really does like kids, right? When Benjamin turned around and came back in after making the call, he caught her spacing out. Sitting down, he leaned close to her. "What are you thinking?" Orissa blinked, jolting out of her thoughts. Fixing her gaze on his handsome face, she asked softly, "Are you happy about this child?" She stroked her barely visible belly, regarding the man nervously. Benjamin was taken aback for a moment before he gave a muted sigh. "What are you thinking about? This is our child, so I'm naturally happy about it." At his answer, Orissa breathed a sigh of relief. "Rest first. Edwin won't be here too soon. I'll wake you up when he comes with food. Or do you want to eat something now? If so, I'll go and buy some for you." Taking her hand with the IV needle attached to it, Benjamin caressed it lightly. "No, it's okay. I can wait." Orissa had eaten some food at the horse ranch, so she wasn't all that hungry yet. Benjamin tucked her in. "In that case, sleep." Orissa nodded. One was more prone to drowsiness while on an IV drip, so she fell asleep in no time. Benjamin stayed by the hospital bed for some time. Upon making sure that she was slumbering deeply, he tucked the covers around her before standing up and going outside. He went to the doctor's office and inquired about Orissa's condition in detail. "Doctor, can she be discharged after the IV infusion?" It went without saying that he wanted to transfer her to his own hospital. Both Darius and Mary were there, so it would be easier to take care of them together. That aside, he would also be more at ease if she were staying in his hospital. "My suggestion is for her to remain hospitalized for a day or two for observation. Then, she can go home and recuperate when her pregnancy has stabilized. Right now, it isn't advisable for her to be moved." After listening to the doctor's reply, Benjamin had no choice but to nix his plan to transfer Orissa back to his hospital. Her health takes precedence. Let's wait until her condition has improved before transferring her back. Chapter 1040. Sean was in Darius' ward when he received a call from Benjamin. "Boss, is it convenient for you to talk right now?" At the sound of the children's voices from the other end of the line, Benjamin urged Sean to find a more suitable location to further their conversation. Sean caught on to the severity of his tone and excused himself from the ward. Darius and the 5 little ones eyed him on his way out. Once Sean was a safe distance away from the ward, he replied, "What is it, boss? I need you to come over to Second Hospital right away." "What's the matter, boss? Are you okay?" Sean's eyes widened when he heard what Benjamin said. "It's my wife. She seems to be showing signs of a miscarriage. Come over quick." Benjamin briefly recounted Orissa's condition and urged Sean to be on his way. "I'll be there as soon as possible." Sean was flabbergasted. He turned around and was greeted by the sight of Zachary standing behind him. "Mr. Bailey, why did Daddy call you?" Zachary was exceptionally astute, and his piercing gaze was scrutinizing Sean. Sean patted his head. "It's nothing to worry about. I have to attend a meeting now. Why don't you go back in and play with the others?" Keeping the truth a secret from the little boy, Sean made a mad dash to his office to retrieve his medical box and even dispensed some pills for pregnancy stabilization before heading to the hospital. Zachary's brows wrinkled at the flustered state Sean was in. "Mr. Bailey is in a hurry after a call from Daddy. This means that something's up. What could it be?" Zachary frowned as he tried to figure out the possible reason behind Sean's hasty departure. Could Mommy be hurt? His heart dropped as he instantly tried calling Orissa to no avail. To his dismay, her phone was shut down. As such, he had no choice but to track Benjamin's location discreetly. Benjamin's eyes narrowed as his phone's security system began ringing. "Who is tracking me?" He grimaced as it was indicated that the tracker was located at the hospital he owned. "Did the children overhear my conversation with Sean?" Zachary deactivated the tracking system once he pinpointed Benjamin's whereabouts and immediately switched the screen to the footage of Second Hospital's surveillance cameras. Sean had no clue what Zachary was up to and had already arrived at Second Hospital. "Boss, is Mrs. Graham all right?" Sean inquired the moment he set foot into the ward, not even bothering to put away the things he was carrying. "Have a look at her." Benjamin made room for Sean to inspect Orissa. Sean took a seat and measured Orissa's pulse while she was still fast asleep. The moment Benjamin saw Sean's grim expression, the former's heart clenched with worry. "Is there something wrong? How is it?" Anxiously, He enjoined Sean to inform him about the results. The child's condition is unstable. Sean then turned to look at Benjamin. Was she bleeding? Benjamin nodded. She told me there was some minor bleeding. Benjamin explained Arissa's condition to Sean once more and told him about the doctor's diagnosis. Sean pondered for a moment and advised, make sure she gets plenty of rest. I'm going to ask the doctor about the test results. See you later. Benjamin inclined his head. Sean put his things down and hastened to find the doctor so that he could have a detailed understanding of Arissa's current state. Benjamin's eyes flickered when he received a call from his child. He walked over to the balcony before picking it up. Zachary, he said, is Mommy hurt? Just as Benjamin had expected, Zachary's desperate voice traveled from the other end of the line. He decided not to question how Zachary managed to find out. She's fine. Benjamin decided to keep the truth a secret from Zachary for the time being. You're lying. I can see that you all are at the hospital. Zachary scoffed, not concealing the fact that he was spying on them. Benjamin's gaze swept over Arissa, who was lying in bed. This child is just too smart to be tricked. He deliberated whether or not to tell Zachary the truth. I'll find out myself even if you won't tell me, Zachary threatened. Benjamin sighed. Don't worry. Your mommy is fine now. She simply ate something that had gone bad. Benjamin felt it'd be better to reveal Arissa's pregnancy to the children at a later time.